Okay, so this is in chapter 6 of this amazing, incredible book. It's the world's first spiritual Bible, and it is a must go-to for all people on the spiritual path. Now then, this particular bit I'm going to be reading is primarily about the allegory of Plato's cave. So I'm going to read a couple of paragraphs as a preamble. In the early years of being deep within my dark night of the soul, which I explain in here what that is, I read Plato's Allegory of the Cave, which struck a synchronistic chiming chord right in the core of my very being. My mind, body and spirit were scrambled entirely during the first 7 years of my psychological archaeological dig. This ancient pearl of wisdom was metaphorically dropped into my lap like just all the other relevant data along my journey has been. It came to me at the perfect time, which seriously makes one question our notion of free will. When on the spiritual path, phenomena such as this happen all the time. It really does appear that something is manufacturing our destiny. You know, when you're on the path, people, you get synchronicities, you meet the right people, you watch the right videos, you see the right movies, you get the right books presented to you, all this stuff. It's like it's like the gods in these Greek fantasy movies. The Greek gods are moving around the pieces of the chessboard. I'm telling you, people, that's what it's like. That really is what it's like. So Plato's Allegory of the Cave helped me immeasurably discern how to free myself from intellectual darkness through enlightenment and the bravery to experiment with new ideas. This evidently was why I was reading copious amounts of philosophy. Below, I paste a summary from Google that briefly explains Plato's Allegory of the Cave. Now, within this book, I insert pieces like this to enable you to delve deep within the parameters and realms that I'm speaking about. Rather than describing it in my own words, I will take something which is deemed to be very credible from the internet, from somebody that has studied it profoundly and has created a concise illustration of it. So that's what I've done with lots of things when relevant in this book. So, Plato's Allegory of the Cave. The cave allegory by Plato serves as an example of the difference between knowing something and ignorance. It is one of the most well-known and enduring allegories in Western philosophy, and it is frequently taught in introductory courses on critical thinking. Everybody should be aware and have knowledge of this allegory. In the allegory, a group of prisoners who have lived in captivity in a cave since birth are depicted. They can only see shadows that a fire behind them projects onto the wall as they are bound in place, only able to see the wall in front of them. So they're sitting in a wall, chained up, and there's a fire behind them, and then the shadows being projected onto the wall in front of them, but they don't know what these shadows pertain to. The captives' only experience of reality is what happens on the wall projected as a shadow. They are unable to see the objects or the flames that are casting the shadows. They devote their entire lives to attempting to make sense of the shadows because they believe that is all there is to reality. So they're sitting and they're watching shadows on the wall. They don't know where the shadows are coming from, yeah? Because they can't see the fire and they can't see what's making the shadows. One of the inmates is eventually released from his chains and makes his way outside the cave. Initially, as he stumbles outside, he can't see much because of the bright sunlight. However, when his eyes adjust, he starts to see clearly. He begins to recognize the objects that have been passing in front of the cave's mouth, the items that were responsible for the cave's shadows. So outside in the real world, he's seeing all these things which gave rise to the shadows on the wall, yeah? For the first time in his life, he is able to see the fire and the things in the outside world creating shadows. The newly released prisoner understands that the cave's shadows were simply a weak representation of the outside world. He tries to return and inform the other prisoners of what he has witnessed, but they don't take him seriously. For them, everything outside of the darkness is merely a myth or a fiction. What does the allegory of the cave mean? The allegory serves as a metaphor for the separation between the true world and the world of appearances. Those whose minds are limited by ignorance and only have a superficial understanding of the world are represented by the prisoners in the cave. So that's 99% of the populace, yeah? They're ignorant of what really is going on in this world and what really is going on in their mind. In this ignorance, the illusions we accept for reality are represented by the shadows on the wall. The released prisoner stands apart from these people as someone who has seen through illusions and has now found the truth of things. According to Plato, the true function of the philosopher is to guide people out of the darkness of ignorance and into the light of understanding. He claimed that studying math and logic as well as philosophy are the only ways to get authentic knowledge. The cave metaphor is helpful because it serves as a reminder that what we believe to be true may not always be the case. It challenges us to think critically about our presumptions and ideas and to look for knowledge and understanding that go beyond the obvious. It also serves as a reminder that information is something we must actively seek out for ourselves rather than being given to us. To summarize the cave allegory, it is the potent metaphor for the discrepancy between appearances and reality. It prompts us to consider our presumptions and views as serves as reminders. It prompts us to consider our presumptions and views and serves and serves as a reminder of the value of seeking knowledge and understanding. It's a classic thought-provoking tale that still motivates people today. Now, I'm going to read the philosophy and I'm going to read the conclusion. So, philosophy. This analogy was used by Plato to try to explain the feeling of being a philosopher, attempting to educate the general public. Ignorance to many is bliss, and when the reality of the world is challenged or the perspective of the individual is challenged, the challenge can often be met with hostility. It is uncomfortable to accept that the world around you is different from what you have understood it to be, and it can be destabilizing to find out that what you believe to be true is in fact false. Socrates himself was sentenced to death for challenging the status quo. The allegory of the cave is an interesting thought experiment. How do we really know that our perception of things is based on concrete observation, or simply a warped and biased view of an abstract concept? When things are physical, like a table, an arm, or a phone, they are easy to see and look at objectively. However, when things become more subjective, like success or beauty or love, they can become warped by experience, judgments, beliefs, and our values. Conclusion. We can use Plato's philosophy and allegory of the cave in our own lives. This is especially true with the recent popularity of social media and the misinformation that comes from it. It's not uncommon to come across information that is false, but is believed to be true by a huge number of people because it's circulating online without anyone checking its validity. People simply assume it's true because it's been repeated so many times. This is one situation among many in which we can look at the shadows cast on the wall and ask ourselves whether or not they are an accurate representation of the outside world. End of excerpt. Now, oh goodness me, I go on to speak endlessly about that. And if you want to know what I have to say about that, then you're going to have to read this book. But the Allegory of the Cave, for 2,000 years, has been exceedingly powerful, people. Because, like it says there, it's just an illustration that the vast majority of people are believing in all they hear and what they think they see and what they are told, when the reality of things are, when you really scrutinize them, they invariably aren't anything like what you would suppose they are. Now I'm going to move my station over into the sun. Look where I am. This is my secret garden. This is my beautiful backdrop that I have to look at. And this is my sun-soaked area, which is completely and utterly given to me because nobody else ever comes in here. And so I could effectively lay here naked if I so desired, and nobody would ever see my nakedness. So when we wake up, people, we have a shock to our system, and our ego is very, very compromised because we are presented with a higher state of being which questions absolutely everything and shows how shockingly wrong our ego has been for all of our lives. Because we have been in the cave, staring at the shadows on the wall, thinking that that's the reality, not knowing what was being projected by the fire behind us. We had no idea about the true reality of the world. We were just immersed in an illusion, in a movie. You know, look, 2,000 years ago, Plato made this illustration, but can you imagine, in simple terms, people would say, you know, when people watch a movie, they think that that's fucking real, all that shit's real, but it's not real, it's all fiction. And so, you know, you've got to realise that you're looking at a screen, you're looking at light projected from a projector, and all you're looking at is pixels and sound bites. That isn't the reality, people. You know, but people buy into, oh, look at that, oh, that villain's a meanie, oh, that protagonist is a hero, come on, oh, yeah, you're going to win, and this, that, and the other. So we have to be careful what we buy into. But when we wake up, what happens is, people, is that we are shocked to our core. And it takes this very, very devastating shock to put our ego on the back foot. And it completely destabilizes it. It's all shaken. It doesn't know what the fuck to do. It can't compute anything anymore. It's kind of like sparks and smoke going on. And then you get the higher voice which says, okay, now then, listen carefully. This is what we're gonna do. You're gonna go and read these books. You're gonna go and fucking listen to that person. You're gonna go and do this, you're gonna go and do that. You're gonna meditate, you're gonna introspect. You're gonna forget all about the fucking shadows on the wall, and you're gonna come in here and you're gonna discover what actually really is true. So, people, the Allegory of the Cave. It's exceedingly important that you get your head around that. And you can watch video after video after video after video until you get it, but you need to get that. And those of you that have been on the awakened, enlightened path, you already have got it. You will know what that means. So in this book, I put all of these instantiations into place so you can see what was happening to me as I was traveling through this crazy new world I was in. You can see that all the books I came upon, all the lessons I'd learned, and you will see how God or Spirit was guiding me in every single second of the journey. I'm telling you now, people, there's something very, very powerful and vastly over and above the silly fucking shadows on the wall. I've got two of my friends running around here, my little squirrel friends. Doubtless they recognise my voice and my face, and so they're not too worried. And I've actually got some nuts, and if they start to wander over nearer to me, then I'll throw them one or two. But I was thinking the other day, this place is a wonderful environment for squirrels because there's no predators here, and they've got these beautiful, they've got all the trees and all the gardens and people throwing food out and everything. It literally is squirrel heaven. I think I've made my point in this video, haven't I? So, in relation to this book, there's now 140 of you that have bought this book, and that's pretty good going, considering I only get about, you know, maximum 300 hits on any of my videos. So it's kind of like half of you have bought this book. But what I'll say to you, finishing this video, is that even if you're not really big on reading, you don't have to be, because you can read just short sections of this book, and you can read things like that, which was like 2 pages long, and you'll get some major insight into what this whole thing as a construct is about, and that will leave you thinking and contemplating for days and weeks and months. And so then you can pick up the world's first Bible, a spiritual Bible, and then you can enter into what is the dark night of the soul, and, you know, any number of other, you know, incredible things. What is the hero's journey, and what is meditation, what is faith, what is love, what is all this stuff. And so that book just answers a myriad of questions. And I would have thought for any of you which are avid Awakened Brave viewers, then you would just want that fucking book on your bookshelf, even if you don't even have a bookshelf. By the time you've got that Awakened Brave slab somewhere in your apartment, I can't help thinking that you'll feel just a little bit accomplished, just a little bit proud, a proud owner of that world's first spiritual Bible. So anyway, in the description of all my videos, you can see the link how you can purchase that, and it's 20 quid. It's 20 pounds, people. So, you know, you'll do whatever Spirit moves you to do, won't you? If Spirit doesn't move you, you won't buy the book. Those of you that have bought the book, Spirit's moved you, you see. And so if Spirit isn't moving you, then you won't buy the book. And so that's a good litmus test of whether you are being moved by Spirit. Because in that book, there is so many things that you can learn an exponential amount from. So, do what thou wilt, people.